I mean, let's go back to the James Brown era and look at Bootsy Collins. You know, certainly, I mean, the man had it. He still has. You know, and he's a continuing evolution of himself. So there's Bootsy. There's also guys like Bernard Edwards. Okay, talking about funk. He was the bass player from a disco band called Chic, and he, to my mind, is one of the unsung greats. Man, he's like phenomenal. So check him out and everything he does. And that's another thing of kind of funk realming into disco, you know, in the mid to late 70s. Also on that era, Lewis Johnson. I mean, if those of you that are into your slap playing, this guy kind of really took it up there and beyond. So Lewis Johnson from the band Brothers Johnson. Also guys like Stanley Clarke, although noted as a phenomenal jazz player, you know, an upright player. He's got the funk extremely. I mean, you've only got to listen to some of his film scores to listen to that. The album School Days kind of redefined the wheel. And also Paul Jackson as well, okay? Not a brother of Michael or any other Jackson, but Paul Jackson, who is a jazz musician again, but played on a couple of albums with Herbie Hancock and his Headhunters band. That unbelievably funky stuff. So if you haven't heard that, certainly check that out. Also, I've mentioned Tower of Power. Check out Rocco Prestia. You know, he's another guy who's kind of been there, done that, and he's got some phenomenal lines, man. Extremely complex, which is kind of strange for funk, but you want the simplicity, the feel, the dirt, the groove. But Rocco's lines, man, they're unbelievable and played with such passion. So, you know, Bootsy, Stanley Clarke, Bernard Edwards, Lewis Johnson, Rocco, Paul Jackson, also Jaco Pastorius as well, who kind of probably ignited Roscoe Prestia's kind of 16th note funk thing. You know, talking about music, you can divide the beat into equal parts. So 16th notes, 4 notes per 1 beat of music. And Jaco was a real advocate of that style. And, you know, he's one of my favourites too. Yeah, I mean, the one, okay, in this time, you've got to imagine back to sort of the late 50s, early 60s, the styles of music were out there, rock and roll and all this. It was very much led by a vocalist or a person playing a melody, okay, and that was your tune, okay. James Brown was singing the tunes, but he decided to put the emphasis into the rhythm section, and this is where the phrase "the one" comes from. It's not from the Matrix, okay. It goes back deeper than that, and the one is in a nutshell is basically putting the emphasis of your groove, of your line, in whatever instrument you're playing. I mean, rhythm section instruments we're stressing upon here, and the bass certainly, but putting your emphasis on the first beat of the bar. For example, you could play, you know, you could play eighth notes, okay, with the same feel for each note, not emphasizing each or trying not to emphasize each. But if you then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, you know, you put an emphasis on one, so everybody knows, and it's like a heartbeat, okay? You imagine people latch onto it, we want to groove, we want to move, but you need to know where one is. Musicians know where it is instinctively, but getting a people, and this is why I said it's like the music of the people, because they embrace it, they feel where one is. I remember watching an interview a while back with, I think it's James Brown's old drummer, and he kind of described it like a walking dinosaur with a limp. So it's like walk, walk, walk. So 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So there's that real emphasis. And to say you can put it on every first beat of the bar, sure you can, but it's using it. Say if you had like a 2-bar vamp or a groove that goes around and around, put it back on every time that you come back to an idea. Figuratively. You know, that's just lean on the one. Just think of that walking dinosaur. So that's kind of it. And it's just so infectious. And funk in its nature, okay, harmonically speaking, because, you know, bass, rhythm and harmony, it's the best of both worlds in my opinion, but I would be biased. It's got the best of both. And having that, you want to with the style of music that is funk, it's kind of repetitive chordally or harmonically. You could stay on a vamp, which is like a couple of chords, maybe a 1 chord and a 4 chord, and that could be a tune in the world or the genre of funk. So to get away from that very almost inherent repetitive nature of it, you can use the one. So it's kind of hypnotic. People just get drawn into it, and you build tension constantly throughout the music you're playing. And if you've never tried it before, just groove with your friends, you know, pick a tune and play it, but just emphasize all the downbeats.